Hello, and welcome to another episode of Chatter, a podcast from The Gist, with me, Josh Hamilton. Our guest on today's show was Katie McQuillan, a photographer and videographer from Northern Ireland, whose work has been chosen by the World Health Organization to front their entire worldwide coronavirus campaign. Katie is also a former classmate of mine, so it was a pleasure to catch up and discuss creativity, her development as an artist and a photographer, the Northern Irish identity, and the constraints and pressures of being a creative in our social media-driven world. If you haven't already and you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and to our mailing list. And don't forget, my book, BREXIT, The Establishment Civil War, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. You'll find the link in the description below. So here's Katie McQuillan. Perfect. So Katie, welcome to the show. Thanks for chatting to me. I believe you're probably the first person I've ever talked to on my podcast that I went to school with. Well, like I have this vision in my head of in 10 to 15 years time, you know, I'd be able to sit down and just talk to all my successful friends that went to school. Because that's what it seems to be like watching anyone who's got anywhere in a creative industry. And you're watching them and they're like, oh, yeah, no, I went to school with this person. And, oh, you know, that person that does this. Yeah, no, I was in the same class as them. And I always wondered, was it just these really like creative people that suddenly managed to have loads of really successful friends, or whether it was just that, you know, your friends became people who were successful enough to get to interviews. So you have been chosen to have your photograph used by the World Health Organization. Why don't you tell me how on earth you got your photo accepted by them, like how you submitted it and why?
As you know, at the beginning especially, there was a lot of fake news going around, and they wanted some clear visuals that helped show that quickly, and for anyone around the world to be able to use those visuals whenever they need to like explain. So I work at Entropic, a company in London who do production and post-production, and there's a lot of artists in the company, and we all just decided to submit kind of a few images, and it was kind of our way as a company and as artists to try and help somehow or input, you know, using our skills. So that's why I submitted that photo and kind of how I guess it got seen.
Well, no, that's super cool. I was so shocked when I saw it. Like I can't get over how mad it is that your photo is being used like worldwide. But you said something there about using the bare minimum stuff. Like, how much do you feel using like as few tools as possible, or being forced to use only like bare minimum like props, makes you more creative?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think especially I'm early career, so a lot of the time I'm dealing with low budgets and, you know, lack of resources. So problem solving when you're trying to create something, you know, what you have in your head is like amazing and costs way too much money, and you have to work out, how can I make this with what I have? So yeah, that's a huge part of the process, and I think quite a fun part. For that, I literally went around my house and just got everything I thought looked nice and was nice colors. And then I sort of, you know, put it all together and worked out what setup I like best. So yeah, you always have to just deal with what you have to tell a story or make a photo, you know, using what you got.
You've made it sound like the stuff that you managed to find around your house was really bad and just like thrown together as like, oh, I didn't really care, and then you ended up winning the competition.
No, well, it was like that photo was literally kitchen towels, a mirror, and paper towels, and my hands wearing these awful long nails and lots of fake tan.
Well, I'm not going to mention about the quality. You had a fake tan.
I know. Let's not talk about that. I still have.
So where was like the moment that you realized that photography or videography was something that you really wanted to do, or it was something that you enjoyed beyond just say like posting some videos on social media?
Yeah. So I think I was 16. And I was always really drawn to creative work, but I never thought I was creative. I was just like, I'm not good enough for that. And I was really into my hockey and sport, and I just thought I was like a sports person. I don't do sport anymore, which is bad, but I did in school. And I just completely discounted myself as creative. And then I heard about this app, Instagram, which was everyone was getting. And I thought, oh, Dad, can I use your iPhone? Because I didn't have one, to download Instagram and like have a go with it. So I got on his phone and just like loved the idea of being able to take a photo and then add a filter and, you know, add a bit of blur, and just the creative control of it really sparked something in me. And I found myself literally using his phone all the time, just taking photos and running around making wee videos with the app. And from that point, I decided, okay, I'm going to get a camera. Like, I'm really interested in this. So I saved up. I worked in the Culloden banqueting and a little restaurant called Iona in Hollywood. I don't know if you know.
I don't.
No, it's not there anymore. It's that time. But so kind of saved up my money along with my 18th birthday money and bought a camera. And I learned how to edit using iMovie with YouTube tutorials, and just found myself spending hours and hours like by myself shooting stuff and learning how to do things. And I didn't realize at the time that was like creative flow, like just being completely immersed in it. So that's kind of the point where I realized, whoa, I really like this. And I should probably keep doing it.
You can, I looked up there, you can claim to have been one of like the earliest adopters of Instagram because it was released in October 2010. When we would have been starting, would that have been lower sixth? So we would have been 16, so you literally were like in there in the first months, so congratulations for that. Was there someone who inspired you to then like move beyond just doing it for fun and then like realize it could be a career for you, or was it just something you did yourself?
Yeah, I think a mix. Like I think I've had a lot of in Northern Ireland. You know, I didn't know many people that did this as a job full time, directing and photography. I knew a few people, but it was mostly wedding directing and videography. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I really want to do that all the time. So I'm not sure what there is out there for me. So I went and studied communications, advertising and marketing at Jordanstown. And there was one video module there in my first year, and I spent all my time on that module and ignored the other ones, and then like skip my other classes to go and make videos for businesses and like wedding videos and stuff. And it just kind of got to a point where I was like, I actually have to pursue this because I'm going to screw up my university degree if I don't do something. So I moved course onto animation, 3D animation at the Belfast campus. And I met a lot of, there was a real camaraderie there with my class and creatives. And I think being a part of that encouraged me, like, okay, maybe I can, you know, people here, you know, teachers and lecturers have worked in this career path and it's out there. So it just kind of opened my eyes to more opportunities. And that was part of it, for sure.
Was there a lot of collaboration going on at that point, or was it just, say, like you go away and work on something and like all the individual students do that as well, then come back and give each other feedback, or were you working on things like with each other like simultaneously?
Yeah, so the course is like super collaborative, which I didn't really like at the start because I was so used to just doing stuff by myself. And now, you know, what I do every day, it's unbelievably collaborative and I love that now. But at the time, it is a really hard thing to learn initially because, especially if you're super keen and you're maybe working with someone who doesn't really care as much. But there's also people in your class who absolutely love it. So that was good. But yeah, it's very collaborative course. So you go into a team and everyone has like separate roles and there's director, like it's set up like a proper, it was VFX and animation. So it's kind of a bit different to live action, but it helped me learn how to be a good collaborator.
Well, that's important.
Yeah, it's true.
What did you find that was there like a project that you suddenly realized that like, okay, maybe collaboration can work for me. I'm not just a control freak, because I know I have the same problem, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm horrible at collaborating with people. I've tried it on so many occasions with people that I know I should get on with really well, and we just come up with nothing. Like
I know, I feel you. I still struggle with the control freak vibes. But I think actually the one I always like was enjoyed being part of teams throughout uni, but I definitely would always, because I wanted to go into directing, be a lot about, oh, it should look like this, or be very involved in the kind of direction of it all. So I think my most, I guess the team that I was like, oh my goodness, this has been so fun to work with these creatives was on A to Z. Whenever I shot that last year. Oh my goodness, might have been the year before now. And the team was just like young filmmakers, and it was shot in Belfast, and everyone cared about the vision. Like everyone wanted to make a story about home and something quite weird and fun. And it was a 3-day shoot, no money. We were in like cars. And at Ashleen's house, Ashley was the producer, so our base was in West Belfast. And it was just awesome, an amazing collaborative environment. And I always now aim at my shoots hopefully feel more like that. But yeah.
Where did the idea for the A to Z video come from? I watched it when you first put it out.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of forgotten about it, and then I went and watched it yesterday or the day before when I was preparing the questions, and I laughed so much.
Oh,
it's there's I don't know what it is. It gives you like this real feeling of I don't know if you would call it pride or like national like patriotism, because I don't even know if any of the things that like or the words would be like described as a good thing or like endearing. But
yeah, I know what you mean. Thank you, though. So that idea came from when I first moved back over to London a couple of years ago now. I didn't really have any friends from home here, except my boyfriend, obviously. And Donaghy Green, I knew Donaghy from school, so he was here, and a few other people from school. But I hadn't met anyone in my workplace, that was from home. Until I went back. I was working at a company called The Mill, and I went back there, and girl who sat beside me in my new job, I moved within jobs within the company, and the girl who sat beside me in my new role was from home. And I was like, this completely blew my mind. And she's called Jo Guthrie, and we're super good friends now. But as soon as we, started seeing each other every day, obviously sitting beside each other, we just started talking faster. People needed like translators, and they're around us, and we were using all these words, having to like constantly explain to our work friends what we were saying. So I just like really, I felt so happy and free to be able to talk. And I just realized how like unique and strange and kind of interesting it is about our culture. And it was something I just wanted to celebrate in a film. And it also made me think about like Northern Ireland, our identity is such a big thing for us, and we don't really have like a distinct this is us. It's always kind of a bit muddled in some ways. And so I like the fact that you can go to any part of the north of Ireland and use those words and people will know what you're saying. Like it kind of unites us in a weird way. So I quite like that aspect too.
There's quite a few words in there that I was watching. I showed it to my housemate yesterday.
Yeah.
And she was laughing because some of them she didn't even realize were like Northern Irelandisms.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. I found like I had a similar experience with you when I was in Austria there, because a friend of mine came out to help work on the mountain, and anytime we were talking, people would be like not able to understand what we were saying compared to when we were talking to them individually and just talking slower and knowing that there's words you just can't use.
I know. It is. It's so funny. Like, you just adapt. Like, even my name, Katie, everyone thinks I'm called Kitty. So I know they just don't understand when I say Katie. So I have to say, it's so embarrassing. I have to say it in an English accent sometimes.
Or like Katie.
Katie.
Like,
Yeah.
wow.
I know. But no one understands me if they don't. So
I actually know a Dutch girl called Kitty who people think is called Katie.
Reverse problems. Wow.
Yeah. So, like, you mentioned there about Northern Ireland in a way kind of being muddled and mixed and not always having a specific, I don't know, culture or overarching culture. But like, personally, I kind of feel that's changing in a way. In the last, I don't know, it feels 5 years or so, you've had shows like Mrs. Brown's Boys, which I fucking despise, but it's on TV.
Yeah.
And shows like Derry Girls, that have kind of pushed Northern Irish culture as a thing into like the mainstream UK.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because of like a whole generation of people coming out of the Troubles and now expressing what they believe to be like Northern Irish culture? Is it like a generation of kids like coming out of the Troubles and being the first people to think and have the opportunity to go into the wider UK and go like, you know, this is us, this is Northern Ireland, we're not about like just blowing people up anymore? Or do you think it's sort of technology breaking down like geographical barriers and meaning that cultures that would have seemed so far away from us before have now like felt a lot closer? Or...
Interesting. Yeah, I think I think it's the first. Personally, I think people from home, you know, so many, I think TV and film has such an impact on our culture, obviously, and it kind of informs us about the world, and that's the power in it is amazing. And I think a lot of our stories that were told, you know, how many films have been made about Troubles, and you know, it's kind of just like, oh yeah, you had that there. And I remember feeling so frustrated, you know, seeing online some platforms like Vice. And if you look on Vice's website, hopefully they've changed now, but certainly whenever I was in uni, I just felt very frustrated because every single article posted about here, even if it was about the younger generation, was about, you know, post-conflict, like Troubles. And just kind of also, I felt like I felt like we should be telling that story now, and like the generation coming through should be sharing our view, about that kind of thing. And I think I feel a real frustration with that. And my final year film actually was called We're Belfast, and it was about like the post-conflict generation kind of starting a new phase of creativity, and like just kind of highlighting a few people who are pioneering creative arts in different ways at home, and you know how they feel about Belfast and Northern Ireland like being put on the map and stuff. So I'm really interested in that, and I think I feel a real duty and inspiration and love for home, that I always want to tell stories that are about or based within home that are, you know, my experience or a collective kind of fresh perspective on it. So I hope, you know, I know a few creatives that I know feel the same way. So I hope it's the first one that people would just feel so compelled to like share our story. That's me.
Oh, that'd be so that's a really nice way of thinking about it, actually. Do you think that previous to our generation, the reason that there hadn't been as much comment from people in Northern Ireland or like explanation of our culture into the rest of the UK, because we kind of felt, oh, they don't get it, they never will, because it was literally just the Troubles and religion and
yeah,
and not,
like our parents, isn't it?
Yeah, whereas now I feel like we've got more to kind of celebrate in a way, or discuss, or just more to show off.
I know what you mean. I think also like they lived through it, like they literally were in, you know, I feel like it's so difficult for us to actually, like, I get frustrated about our lack of identity as a country, but like I didn't live through the Troubles. Like I was born in 1994. and the year of the peace agreement. So and like my mum and dad, for example, my dad literally lived on the Glen Road, like right beside barracks. So he would never have had the opportunities to get, and my mum lived in Larne, so they never would have had the opportunities to like learn the skills to be able to share these stories. There was probably a real pause, kind of like lockdown in a way, on culture and learning and education. So I feel it frustrated, but also like it must have been so difficult for them to like get through that and be able to create and have the resources to create and tell a story as well. So no wonder other people have kind of come in and covered our stories in a way. But also, like, I feel you. I don't know. It's so difficult. It's like, I feel like it wasn't that long ago, like it was 30 years.
Well, no, it wasn't. I remember coming back from having lived in England for a few years, and there was like a huge bomb scare at Down Royal when we'd gone to see some summer racing or something with family members. And so, like, it's like the memory of things like that happening is still like there, or there was like the odd bomb scare in Belfast or along the dual carriageway to Bangor, or like suspicious objects left somewhere, like, I don't know, one incident every 6 months, but that's like the closest we got to it. And
for sure.
One of my mum's friends commented the other day about how the middle of Belfast for a couple of months there after 9 o'clock was like during the Troubles. There was just no one on the street. And it's such a mad thought that was like that for like 20 years.
It's insane.
You know how we're all bitching about queuing up to go into the shop? Like, it's the worst. Like, I feel like the most oppressed person in the world. So I'm like, I can't believe I have to stand here and wait for 5 minutes to go and get my shopping that's been shipped from all around the world into this little supermarket just down the road from me. I feel so spoiled. But like, imagine having to wait and get searched before you went into every shop.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know, same as you, like my parents were sharing some stories over lockdown, like, this is how it used to be. And you're like, what? Here? Like, I just can't believe it.
We got such like a vibrant nightlife here now. It's difficult to imagine. And
I know, it really is.
I think you kind of forget that everyone of that generation who lived in Northern Ireland has like stories about the Troubles that,
for sure.
that like it would just seem crazy to us. I remember talking to a friend of my family like a few years ago, and he told me that he was in the Abercorn on stage when the fucking bomb went off, and I was like, what? Like, I had no idea you were nearly killed in an IRA bomb in the 70s. And he was just like, yeah. Like, it was like, yeah, no, I remember like waking up on the ground covered in soot, and I was like, what?
That is actually insane. Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, I think we did. Maybe then that's why we have a duty to tell the stories, because the generations before couldn't, in a way.
I like the way you've put that. We have a duty to tell the stories. So why London? You finished your course in Jordanstown or in Belfast campus doing animation, and then why London? Why not stay and tell the stories that we have the duty to tell?
This is contradicting myself massively. So I came over to London, got a full-time job here, which was awesome. And basically, as I said before, there wasn't as many roles I wanted to be, a full-time commercials director / art director. And there's not really as many roles for that at home. There's a lot of agencies, like brilliant agencies, that is a kind of a different part of the process. And I wanted to be in the production part, the making and the actual creation of the film from ideation to finish. So here, there's just more opportunities to get involved in that. And at the minute, like hopefully Belfast and, the North of Ireland will have more opportunities in the future, grow in that way, in that industry. Maybe I'll go back and try and grow it. But yeah, so that's why I had to be here, to kind of get that, my foot in the door in that way. But I definitely will move home at some point, and I'm also still shooting a lot at home. So I have a shoot there in August, and I work with a lot of Northern Irish creatives And so it doesn't feel like I'm just in London, like I'm very much in both places. So yeah.
So what are you working on at the moment? Anything interesting?
Yeah, so because I haven't been able to shoot, I've just been trying to prepare all of my shoots as much as possible before, during lockdown. So I have a shoot on July 13th, hopefully. That is a short film that I'm really excited about. And I have, it's shooting over here. I've got a really great crew together and really excited. It's got a huge chase scene in it. So that's going to be fun. And then I've also got a music video that I'm shooting in Belfast with Rebecca Fitch, who's an artist from home. She's brilliant. If you haven't heard her music, you should check it out. And yeah, it's another, really exciting. It's kind of like a short film in itself as well. So we're pretty stoked about that. So they're the two things I'm kind of focusing on right now.
Okay. That sounds cool. I definitely know the name Rebecca Fitch. I can't picture one of her songs or think of what it could be, but I definitely know the name. Do you have a favorite piece of content, artwork, video that you've created? Is there something you're really proud of? If you had to put one thing on your wall forever, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I think I don't want to be negative, but I feel maybe I'm too critical, I don't know. But I feel like I have something in me that I haven't made yet. Okay. And I'm aspiring to make something and be this is it. I love it. This is amazing. This is me. Whatever. But that hasn't fully happened yet. But will it ever happen? Who knows? It's all a process, really.
I mean, it would be kind of depressing to believe you'd peaked at 26.
This is true. This is true. But I think for the memes, A to Z is, my most little. I just love that shoot so much, and the team's brilliant. And also, it was such a positive reaction from a lot of people who related to it, so that's always great. Yeah.
What sort of effect do you think technology has had on A, being a creator of your ilk, and B, in trying to get noticed? Because obviously, as say a filmmaker, production costs compared to 20 years ago have gone through the floor. Okay, you still want to buy a good camera, and you're gonna maybe want to have a good laptop to edit on, but you can produce super high quality film with just that. You don't need a studio, you don't need to hire loads of people. You can be super independent and make amazing stuff. Yeah. But at the same time, you're competing with everyone in the world who has access to an internet connection and the same things that you do. Do you think it's more or less difficult to get yourself noticed because of technology, or does it make you be more creative to stand out amongst all those millions of other people?
Yeah, I think there's kind of two strands to that. The first is, you can make whatever you want in your room. There's always a way. So regardless of the budget, there's a way to collaborate with someone or figure out the technology through YouTube tutorials and make it happen. And that's amazing. The access now, not for everyone, but the access to a lot of things is amazing and brilliant for telling the stories you want to tell. But I think the second strand, which I definitely struggle with, and I think a lot of, creatives struggle with this, with the pressures of Instagram and TikTok and the constant need to create and produce work just to remind people that you're there in such a oversaturated Instagram feed, can impact work in negative ways. So I think lockdown, especially for me, has been a lot of sitting back and reflecting and realizing what I actually want to make that's authentic to me, and what I want to say and why do I want to say it, because you can just get lost in a flurry of just creating stuff to post it, just to you just feel like you need to make stuff all the time. And I don't think that's necessarily always good. I think you can just be doing a lot of stuff, but not really actually doing anything. So, I think Instagram and TikTok and all of those things are brilliant for getting your work seen, but you want to make sure it's the right work. You know what I mean?
How much do you feel that pressure to constantly create? Because I know it's something that some people that I've been reading on are attempting to get away from. For example, a few weeks back, I interviewed Matthew Thompson, who hosts Best of Belfast, which is
do
you know it? It's a podcast, and they just like interview loads of Northern Irish celebrities. I only discovered it like a few months ago, but I'm really enjoying like working my way through some of the interviews.
Nice.
But he has like got rid of his phone. There is no social media for his podcast. Everything is done by word of mouth and email for like a really specific reason of trying to avoid that like pressure and need to feel like you have to be posting something, like you have to be on. And he basically believes that it's more detrimental and time consuming than not having it. And
for sure. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're kind of like forced to put stuff out, or are you able to like chill out and just be like, no, I'm going to work on something really good and put out one thing?
Yeah. I think I definitely feel the pressure of it. Especially in the career that I'm in. You always have to, it's important to be able to, you don't know when the next job's coming. So people need to know that you're working and that you're, relevant and that you're able to meet certain clients' needs that they maybe have in their books at the minute. So it's important for me to do that in terms of commercials. But in terms of what I absolutely love doing and want to get, I want to be able to make films that are rich and have depth, and that takes time. And I think social media puts time pressure on everything, because you feel like, oh no, if I don't, let the world see this right now, they're not going to look at it. I need to like get this out. But actually, I think it's a real choice and discipline to wait for the right time to share work. And I completely agree with what they're saying at Best of Belfast, because like it can be so. It is so detrimental to creative work and any work. You spend half the time writing a caption or like planning what to share, rather than, spending more time on like a bit of space to come up with new ideas and then focus. Yeah, I think I really value creative work that people have put a lot of time and research and like themselves into. Rather than, and I think social media is making it more difficult for people to do that. It's more of a distraction.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree at this point. I've got rid of all social media from my phone,
Wow.
and I haven't been on like Twitter or Facebook for quite a while. Never use Instagram on my desktop. I'm basically like cutting it all down. Everything is automated, so whenever we post anything from like my site about the podcast, is like all automated. I don't have to do anything, which may seem really lazy, but like the idea is I don't want to touch those sites if I don't have to. And
you use like a planning those planning things like nice.
So I like it. All I have to do is post like the thing on like the podcast, and then everything else goes out by itself.
Have you found since you've started doing that more like clear in your mind,
I feel like I have so much fucking time. Like,
really? Wow.
Like I got basically quarantine has been like amazing for me. I've read so many books and just like cut out so much stuff like technologically wise that I haven't needed, and I feel like I'm doing like spending less time trying to create, but do like producing way more. So I gotta say it's been great.
That's so good. You've read a lot of books, fair.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Like what I would watch the TED Talk from Matthew Thompson from Best of Belfast, because he talks about how he just got rid of his smartphone altogether, and it's really, really like kind of inspiring.
I feel that. I also get a lot of inspiration though from other like Instagram mainly, just so many.
No, I do. There's obviously like a flip side to it, especially if you're someone who's working like exclusively in like a visual medium.
Yeah, it's great. And for opportunities as well, you see a lot of opportunities on there. But yeah, it's a hate-love relationship.
But I'm very aware that you probably have to go. You've got a thing at 11, and I will make sure you have enough time to prepare for that.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even realize the time. I was enjoying it.
Yeah, that happens. That's all right. It was an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for chatting. That was great.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. It was brilliant.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on Facebook, Twitter, to our email list, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, thanks for listening.